Well, hello there, Hogtown campers. Welcome back. So, today's the day. Going to be headed to Dinosaur Valley 2 weeks later than originally planned, but hey, the weather here in Texas never knows what it's going to do, so we'll see. Sadly, after I moved the trip back 2 weeks, then rain showers popped up for this afternoon, so we're going to try to get there early, see if they'll let me check in and get the tent set up. Coleman assures me it's a waterproof tent, so we'll be checking that out. Otherwise, it should make for a good trip. We're going to see some dinosaur footprints, going to do some hiking, some geocaching, and just have a good old time, and maybe at some point tell some campfire stories. So I'm going to get on the road, and I'll check back in with you folks later. Alright, so we're well on our way. As you can see, it is a very cloudy day here in Texas. A little bit about Glen Rose. So, it's not a huge town, but it's actually fairly famous for a few things. As you know, we're going to be camping at Dinosaur Valley State Park, like I mentioned previously. And that's the main thing Glen Rose is famous for, is a lot of the dinosaur footprints that have been found there in the Biloxi River and around the area. It also is known because it has a nuclear plant, which, however you feel about nuclear energy, I mean, it's really kind of neat that there's one there. But it's also got a lot of other stuff to do in the town. One of the other nice attractions for the area is a place called Fossil Rim, which is a drive-through animal safari almost, and they've got all sorts of cool animals. It's been a few years since I've been there, but it's definitely a neat place to check out in the area. Also, just down the road from where we're going to be at the state park, is a place called Dinosaur World, which is really cool for your kids. They've got life-size dinosaur statues that they've built, and you walk through it. And of course, they've also got like a play area for the kids, and you know, they tell a little bit about all the different dinosaurs. And I can't remember if they just have random dinosaurs or if it's like dinosaurs that were native to this area. But it's a neat little attraction also. But probably the coolest attraction around here is called the Creation Museum. And so they have some artifacts in this museum that are, well, it's pretty biblical in nature. One of the artifacts they have there that is really famous is, and I can't tell you when this happened, I just know that this was found in the area, but it's a dinosaur footprint, and embedded in the middle of the footprint is a human footprint, and that's not supposed to be possible. Another artifact they have is it's like an ancient hammer that is embedded in some rock that is extremely old. And so when I go back and do the editing, I'll put some pictures up of these things and maybe put some text up, you know, kind of explaining better about them. But so that's pretty much the coolest stuff about Glen Rose. We still got about, I don't know, roughly 25 minutes before we get there. I've got to run into the supermarket real quick and grab a couple things that I was lacking, and then we'll get to the park, we'll check in and go from there. So we're here, and it looks like there's a good little line of people to check in. So I purposely set up this trip on a Sunday afternoon into a Tuesday, thinking it might not be super busy. I might have been wrong. We'll see. But it'll still be a great time. But I'm going to check in, go see if I can get to the site early, and then we'll get the camp set up. All right, well, we are at the campsite number 4. Let's check it out. All right, as you can see, there's our water, our electric. Got a possible neighbor over there, one over here. But look at this shade. I mean, it is beautiful, nice and shady. Got the standard fire pit and barbecue pit combined. Then got a separate barbecue grill, picnic table with a pad, lantern post, which is awesome. But look at this tent pad. I mean, that is nice and flat and smooth, and the tent will go great there. So first thing I'm going to do is get the tent set up. We've got some possible rain coming in a little bit, and I want to get that set up so I have some shelter. All right, guys, I'm back. So camp is mostly set up. The tent is set up for sure. It still shows some rain in the forecast in about a few hours, so I'm going to hold off on putting some of the other stuff up until maybe that passes, because I don't want my solar lights to get drenched, and I don't know, I just want to be on the safe side. So let's take a look at the camp. All right, so as you can see, there's the Hogtown Campmobile. I've done a whole bunch of other stuff to it since you guys saw it last. I put some WeatherTech floor mats in it and put a hood protector on it to keep the bugs from chipping away at the hood there, and some window shade things. So that's that. All right, so let's take a look at the tent. This is my Coleman 8-person dark room sky dome tent. I got it about 2 years ago, and this will be the 3rd trip I've gone on it, and the first one you guys will see. Let's walk in and see what it looks like on the inside. It's gonna be kind of messy, but hey, it wouldn't be camping if it wasn't a little bit of a mess. All right, so you see, this is my new Bass Pro Shop. Actually, no, it's a Cabela's brand. It's a I forget the exact name, but it's a cot, and I've got under that sheet there my new Climate Luxe pillow, along with my Climate V or Static V sleeping pad, and then my chair, my table with my Bible, and all my other gear. So that's the tent. So let me zip this up real quick. All right, so this is the first time I have set this tent up by myself, and with it being so tall and me being so short, I was curious how that was going to work out, but it worked out pretty good. But not gonna lie, I kind of wished I had a step ladder. The pains of being short. So it's time to hang out for a bit. I'm gonna cool off. It's not just hot here, it's probably in the high 70s, low 80s, but it's super humid. And because I've been moving around and doing stuff, I'm sweating like a pig. So I'm gonna hang out here. Brought my Frost Buddy, and I have me a pineapple flavored Dos Equis, pineapple chili Dos Equis Chilada. So I'm gonna drink that. I'm gonna wander around maybe and look for the restroom here in a bit, and then hopefully later on I can hook back up with you folks and we can just chill and tell some stories or something. All right, later. Actually, I'm gonna check back in with you guys quicker than I thought. Check this out. So I didn't realize it, but the river's right here. Let's go walk down there and see what it looks like. As you can see, might as well get this part out of the way. A lot of cedar, which is not bad. At least it's pretty and green out here. I don't see hardly any mesquites whatsoever, but I can definitely see where the river's at down here. Nice little part of some trail. I'm not sure what that is. And then apparently this is not a trail. And then that looks like somebody made their own trail. Okay, let's walk here. Oh yeah, look at this. All right, we're not going to go too far down here because I don't feel like falling down the river. But as you can see, there's the river, the Paluxy River, and it's got a decent amount of water in it now. I don't see any tracks over here. I bet there's some around though. This park has a lot of dinosaur tracks. So this is going to sound cheesy as all heck, but if any of you guys have watched the Lost World Jurassic Park, the part where they're come out of the jungle and they're in that really tall grassland, well, considering this is like a dinosaur themed state park, check this out. Yep, definitely be on the lookout for velociraptors out there. That is pretty cool. I'm sure y'all will probably get tired of my Jurassic Park comments and references throughout this trip, but hey, great movies. I love dinosaurs. Oh well. Well, so interesting thing. Rain has kind of fallen back until like 8, 7, 8. There's a slight chance at 5. So I went ahead and decided it's probably a good thing for me to go ahead and knock out my dinner real quick. So what we have, gonna cook a couple burgers and a couple brats, and then because of the speed I'm gonna have to do this, I'm probably not going to film making the burgers. I'll film cooking tomorrow, but I'm gonna use this thing. Got the charcoal already started. Hopefully it is going to burn. We'll see. Adapt and overcome, that's all I can say. Alright folks, carnivore camp meal number 1 is finished. Let's take a look. So, got some burger patties with a little Whataburger mustard on there and a couple brats, and having a Texas Special beer, which, interesting story, Texas Special is actually made by Shinerbach, and it's pretty good, nice and smooth. So I'm gonna eat before the bottom falls out. See y'all later. So thank the Lord, a lot of the rain that was supposed to come at 8 o'clock has like dwindled down to almost nothing. So I'm gonna walk around, check some more stuff out. Seen a path over here I'm gonna go look at. I've also been scoping out other campsites to see when I come back, if I come back, which most likely I will at some time in the future, other sites that I want to camp, but really so far I have not seen any as good as the one I've got. So let's see where this path goes. Alright, so I think this is actually part of one of the trails. There was a sign back there earlier today that said one of the trails picks up here by campsite 1, and that's where I was just at, looking around. But they've got some kind of little, probably some sort of utilities over there that they've got mowed and looking nice. But I might have to look into seeing what trail this is and if it's a good one to go hiking on tomorrow. So apparently there's only 2 real geocaches in this park. There's like one or two more, but they are like the ones you have to actually pay for to get access to. So I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to look for the two they've got. But it's turning out to be a great evening. In fact, let me show you this. All of that back in there is clear sky. Now it looks a little bit ugly that way, but back this way, sun's trying to come out. First time all day, really. But that's it. I'm gonna walk down this way and check out. Oh, I see. Just meets up with the road here. Well, I guess it is a trail. Well, you know what they say, fortune favors the bold. All rain chances are gone. The wind is laying, and so, yeah, fire time. Probably no story tonight. I'm just gonna sit around and enjoy this fire as long as it lasts. But tomorrow night, I will have a story. All right, good morning, folks. So, last night was an all right night. We never did get the rain that was expected, thankfully. Now they're showing a chance this morning at 8, and then again this afternoon. But in the last half hour that I've been up and getting together for the day, it has changed a little bit, so hopefully by the time any of that comes around, it'll be gone out of the, it won't happen. So in the meantime, got a pretty big day planned. Gonna go looking for some dinosaur tracks, do some hiking, try to find those 2 geocaches, and in here pretty quick, I'm going to cook something for breakfast, and well, you guys will see that. So till then. All right, folks. So the rain is being crazy. Well, I say the rain, more the weather. One minute it says it's going to rain, the next minute it says it's not. Whatever. So I decided to run into town real quick and grab a couple things, and I'm headed back to the park. There is inside the park headquarters building, I guess you could call it, a little exhibit. I'm going to stop in there and check it out and get some pictures and maybe a little bit of video. As of right now, it shows rain for 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. After that, there's going to be a break for several hours possibly, and then a slight possible chance this afternoon at like 3. In the meantime, I will not be letting the weather be an issue. I'm going to proceed and do as much as possible. We're going to go look for some dinosaur tracks here a little later and geocache, and so, yeah, adapt and overcome. All right, folks, so here's the exhibit up here at the main building. You can see got some statues, and this is like the native wildlife. Let me back up a little bit. This is what we've got living in this area. Some armadillos and some white-tailed deer, skunks, raccoons, possums, wild turkey, rattlesnakes. Actually, yep, that would be a timber rattler. Big blue heron, or great blue heron, horny toads, and grass snake. Then we got some other stuff possibly around here. Of course, there's some pictures of some apparently not dinosaurs. Of course, they got all this stuff here. This is all your dinosaurs that are found around here. Let's see. T-Rex. Alamosaurus. Torosaurus, which is sort of like a Triceratops. And then, of course, here's some what the tracks would look like around here. I've got a reconstruction of a dinosaur foot stepping in the track. A very large track. More geological artifacts. There's a smaller footprint. Have all of this. And so here's like another reconstruction. It's a sauropod's foot. Of course, that one over there is a theropod, like a T-Rex. But that's it. Neat little exhibit here. Alright, we're going to be looking for some tracks out in the river here pretty quick, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so had a little rainstorm, a little bit of a rain shower, but I think it's done for a little bit, maybe, hopefully done completely. But I'm gonna check out this trail here. There's supposed to be some dinosaur footprints back there, and as you can see, you cannot be in a Jurassic Park style camping environment without dressing the part. So you get to see it. All right, so this is the east trailhead, and up here and to the left is what they call the Dino area, where there's some tracks. So let's go see. Of course, they've got your standard bike repair station, doggy bags for your doggy doo, a water station, and it's just real pretty. I mean, it even looks like freaking something out of a Jurassic Park movie around here. I mean, seriously. It's beautiful though, nice and green. Of course, it's cloudy as it can be, but it's gonna be fun. So one thing I've been seeing a lot of in this park that I wanted to talk about for anybody that's never visited Texas, especially this part of Texas, we have these things called bull nettles. And you see this little plant here with the white flowers. It would be better to be in the darkest pits of hell than to walk through one of these. It is painful, it itches, it stings, it burns, and it takes forever to get better. So yeah, fun fact. But we're gonna go and check out the Dino site. There's also, along the way, this group campsite. We're gonna check that out also, unless there's people there. But it's not a huge park. I remember, so I've been to this park when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. We had a field trip here to go see the dinosaur footprints and just spend the day. And then I've been here a time or two since then. But like I say, first time camping. But I thought it was always a bigger park, but really it's not. Of course, you know, there's no lake here. It's all the water here is the Biloxi River, and that's where all the tracks are pretty much located in the river. But let's check out this group site. So as you can see, still lots of cedar. Hopefully all of the pollen for the cedar is done for the year. As you can see, you know, a few picnic tables and some areas for tents, and then a fire pit over there. I mean, basically this would be kind of neat because it's isolated from the rest of the camping sites, and you could get a bunch of people in here easily. All right, so let's get back on the trail. All right, so it's supposed to be sunny after about noon sometime, maybe closer to 1. Because of how iffy the weather has been, I had to kind of change what I had planned. So my original plan was to get up this morning, sit down, and get some charcoal going on the barbecue grill and cook some eggs, some scrambled eggs, and I had some brisket a friend of mine gave me, and I was gonna scramble those eggs with that brisket. Well, because it kept saying it was gonna rain, it started off saying it was gonna rain at 7, then it moved back to 8. I ended up just saying to heck with it. I needed a couple things in town, so I just went into town and grabbed breakfast up there. So I'm gonna save my eggs and brisket for lunch, and then the plan for dinner is still to make, I think it's carne asada tacos, although I'm not gonna be eating the tortillas. It's gonna be basically just cheese, hot sauce, and meat. But carnivore diet, what can you say? I walked to the end of where this trail leads. Apparently all it does is kind of go back behind that campsite I showed y'all a while ago and then meet back up with the road. But you can go over the river, it looks like down here. There's a bridge, and maybe you can see the dinosaur tracks that they're talking about. So I haven't seen just a whole lot of wildlife this time. Yesterday, while I was in camp, there was a squirrel that came down one of the trees, and he was just hanging out. Like, he wasn't just super afraid of me. And I say he because, well, it was plainly obvious it was a boy. But anywho, then was it, I guess like mid-evening, I was laying in the tent because I thought it was gonna rain, and there was a huge crow landed on a tree right there in camp, and I scrambled to try to get a picture of him. Nope, didn't happen. Of course, I've seen all kinds of cardinals, or redbirds as some people like to call them, but nothing major. And I've got pictures of that squirrel. He's just kind of hanging out. It's cool. Love the critters until it's a wild hog. We've talked about that. But this is just, and other than a little chance of rain, it's really a beautiful day. But check this out. Blue skies coming in. Oh yeah. And hopefully it stays that way. So we're gonna go across the bridge here. Let's look at the map. There's a map right here. All right, so we are technically on the Paluxy River Trail. And as you see, this is where we're at. This is the site we're going to. So I thought maybe I could go up here and get to it, but no. So we're gonna go this way. Shouldn't be too far away. All right, so funny thing, there is no bridge, but let's check this river out. All right, as you can see, so the trail just kind of winds down to the riverbank, and it does look like something out of Jurassic Park, not gonna lie. Like that scene in, I think it was the third one, where they're like on the river and the pteranodons are swooping down, attacking them and stuff like that. Yeah, kind of like that. Because you see all these huge boulders across the way. I'm not sure. I'm not going to lie and say it's granite, but it kind of looks like it. Of course, there's other people here, so I'm going to be careful with what I film. And as you can see, it just goes down that way. Those tracks are down there somewhere. I'm not going to try to find those because I don't feel like walking through the river. And they kind of and really wasn't a bridge. You just have to cross the river. And I'm not going to do that because there's some better sites. So that's probably it for this trail. I'm going to go over to the main area of the park and go to those track areas. I was talking to one of the rangers earlier, and she said that there's a place called the Blue Hole where those tracks are pretty visible right now. The main track site, she said, you can kind of see, but they're having a lot of algae blooms, so it's hard to see those. But see the Blue Hole site, and I forget the name of the other site. We'll go check those out. We're up here at the main area of the park, and there's two different track sites. Oh look, the sun has made an appearance. But there are two track sites here. Like I said, the one called the Blue Hole and the other one's called the Ballroom. And so before we go down there, I'm gonna do a little bit up here by the store. So as you can see, the Ballroom side is that away. But the coolest thing about up here, and I remember this from when I was a kid, thinking it was the coolest thing ever, they have life-size dinosaur models. Of course, you can see Bronto is what they call that one. And a few weeks ago, during April Fool's Day, they were doing a thing on Facebook where Bronto went missing, and he was showing up at all these other state parks. It was kind of funny. But as you can see, there's also a T-Rex. Of course, from the time they built these things until now, you know, science has come a long way, and they don't technically believe they look like this anymore, but hey, it's pretty cool. And they even have a sign about it. Okay, so actually, let's see, here's a Acrocanthosaurus and a Sauroposeidon. But this is just talking about what dinosaurs actually made the tracks, and this is what they believe were the ones that made the tracks in the park. Let's see what this sign says. Oh, it talks about the models here. It says these life-size dinosaur models came to Dinosaur Valley State Park after thrilling audiences at the 1964-65 World's Fair in New York. Oh, so, I did not know that. But as you can see, they've been here a long time. But look at them. They're still pretty cool, even if it's not scientifically accurate anymore. Let's see. There's a plaque about a T-Rex, King Tyrant Lizard. It talks about how they built the models and who built them. Let's see, here's another little plaque here about some of the dinosaurs. And this is an Apatosaurus, I'm sorry. There's all kinds of, I don't know what the whole story behind Brontosaurus and Apatosaurus. I know there's been confusion, but regardless. As you can see, this is the main area of the park. They've got a little sandbox and nice little pavilion. This is the park store. And as you can see, there they all are again. Look at them. That's cool. Alright, I'll get back with y'all whenever I get to the trail. I'm gonna head down to the Ballroom site and see the tracks. Hopefully we can actually get down there to them. So, oh look, they have actual walk-in camping sites. I didn't realize that. Huh. That would be fun if I was just gonna do like a backpack kind of thing. But you can tell there's a little bit different landscape on this trail. It's a lot more yucca and cedars, of course. There's a few oak trees scattered about, and there's even a few pecan trees I noticed over by the campsite. But Nice wide trail. They even have equestrian stuff here at this park. So, funny story. I told you about coming here as a little kid on a field trip. Well, so we had to cross the river, and basically they had rocks set up that you could walk across, but they were still a little wet because the river was fairly high. So we're walking across these rocks, and I ended up being the only kid out of the whole group who freaking slipped on the rock and went in the water. So I got to ride home on the bus wet. Yeah, biggest memory of this place. So as you can see, and it gets even more prehistoric looking down here. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just really cool down here. Beautiful place. But I mean, just awesome. Sun is spotty, but it's super shady down here. Well, it wasn't as far as I thought down to the riverbed. All right, so here we go down into the, whoops, let me show you something. Look at there, poison ivy. You would think they would kind of try to get rid of that. All right, you can see it's all viney and stuff. All right, here's possibly where you can see, oh, yep, down these steps here. All right. So this is the ballroom area. Don't ask me why they call it that. All right, so you can kind of see some tracks like right there. It's really hard to see. There's some right there. Maybe the blue hole will be better. I want to think this might be, no, maybe not. But look how beautiful this place is, man. This is just right out of the freaking past. I wish the river was down a little bit where you can see better. I'm not sure what tracks those are, but they're a little hard to make out. Okay, now I am at the blue hole area, and apparently this is a swimming area, but there's supposed to be some tracks here too. So let's check it out. You got a set of steps that goes down that way, and of course that goes back up, I think, probably to the parking area. But I guess this is one of the swimming areas of the park. Of course, you got a nice little staircase here. So there's a little deck, whatever, to get into the water or to overlook the water. Oh, look. People who are doing stupid things. Looks like this is the end of the line. Well, let's see. There's supposed to be some tracks over here, but I don't really see any. Let's see. I don't know, maybe there's some tracks in there. It's hard to tell. It's just so hard to really know what you're looking at because the river's so filled with silt. And so you just don't know. But as you can see, we got this little deck here. No, can't really see any tracks here myself, but there's, you know, more stuff you can go check out over here. I guess maybe you can get in the water right here. I don't know. Still no tracks to see. Of course, you got all kinds of more boulders. And there's a person in the river down there. There might be some tracks down there, who knows. So I guess we will go visit the main track site and see what we can see, because those are the ones that I believe have been here the longest and that we went and looked at when I was a kid. So this is kind of cool. Up here on top of the hill are all kinds of interesting informational placards. So this is talking about the discovery of the dinosaur footprints, and the picture is what is at the ballroom, which that's where we were a while ago and really couldn't see much. And then over here, this is really cool. It's like a scenic overlook. Of course, it talks about the Blue Hole site, which is where we were just at, and how it's a popular swimming place here at the park. But look at this view, man. I mean, that is awesome. Just beautiful. And then this is some information about the ballroom where we were at. It shows you kind of what is there if we could get down there to it and see it. Like I say, there's a good bit of water there, so I'm not going to go through it. And then some more informational stuff about the tracks here. Anyway, just thought y'all would enjoy that. I'm off to the main track site to see what we can see there. Alright guys, so we're here at the main track area. There's a few informational things I want to take a look at, so let's go. Alright, so see, nice big parking area, some picnic tables. And then we've got this thing here. It talks more about, obviously, dinosaurs. Alright, so there's like a map of the track sites. And then talks about, once again, the dinosaurs that left the tracks and whatnot here. So you can hear the water running down there. We're gonna check out these plaques before we go down there. But the last time I came to this park, we went to come look at these tracks. This has been probably 10 years ago. And the river was so high you couldn't even get to any of them. But here's, I guess, hypothetical story about why the tracks are there and who was there. Of course, I've got camp swimming stuff for the kiddies. Let's see, what's these? What do these say? Basically more geological information about the layers of sediment and stone and whatnot. More about the dinosaurs. And then what the United States looked like 140 million years ago, apparently. Okay. On to the next plaque. Yeah, it's finally turning into a great day. I think the weather has passed us. So it talks about, I guess, the guy, Roland T. Byrd, who first found the tracks, maybe. There's a picture of a really good one. That's one of the sauropod tracks. Alright. Now we're going to head down the ramp to the area. Try not to get these folks in the video. Oh, here's a map. Let's see. So we're obviously right here. The camping site is right here. See, there's all kinds of, there's a lot of hiking trails. There's one trail. That one right there is a 7.5 mile trail, but they all connect, so you could probably get lost hiking in this place. Alright. Let's see what this one says, and we'll head down. Alright, it's more information, more pictures of the tracks. At least, if anything, if we can't actually see them in person, we can at least see pictures of them. Alright, let's go down. As you can see, it's nice paved walkway. And a little spot where you can maybe stop and sit, maybe park a wheelchair, rest. It's beautiful. And like I've said, it just looks like we're walking into the freaking prehistoric era. More people. Try to keep them out of the video. Used to be a trail there, apparently. Not anymore. But you can go down to the river here. And maybe we can see these things. Here's another placard talking about the tracks. This is like a seating area where you can view things. Let's walk over here. This little path. Maybe we can get down and look at some this way. It's not really strike me as an official trail, but we'll check it out anyway. Get down to the river here. Oh wow, it's we can get there maybe. Alright, so here we are on the bank of the river. As you can see, lots of water, lots of rocks. I'll go down here, check it out. You can walk out on these rocks, so we're going to do that. Maybe we'll be able to see something. I'm not going to walk it like that. Now, they said this algae was going to be an issue. Oh well. Go back the other way. All kinds of nifty vegetation and rocks. Alright, so this is the main viewing area, they say. I don't see any tracks yet. You would think they would just give us at least one. Just one. Apparently not. Let's walk onto this rock. So over there on that platform there, I think, are some tracks. You have to cross the river there to get there. I don't really know if I want to do that. But we will walk down this aisle. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off. And if I see something of interest, I will show you guys. Okay, I think I see some tracks. It's going to be hard for y'all to see them. Okay, so there's that shelf over there right under the water. Right in this, well, right in there is a track, I think. And a few over here. It's just hard to see. I don't know if there's any in this spot right here. There might be some right here. It's just kind of a, well, to be honest, it's a bit of a bad time between I mean, it's nice out right now, but the wind is blowing a good bit, and so the river is moving. And on top of that, the whole algae bloom thing. And so that's kind of the issue. If the river was just a tad bit lower, it would be perfect. But them's the breaks. So might be a bust on the dinosaur tracks as far as the ones that are actually in the river. At least we got a picture of those up there at the main entrance inside the building. So it's not too much of a loss, but I guess since didn't really see any of the tracks, it's time to go geocaching. So I lied to you guys. I went ahead and crossed the river on those rocks, and those are the rocks I fell off of that time, just so you know. But voila, dinosaur footprints right there, right there. Those are the sauropod tracks. Let's walk over here. Maybe we can see the theropods. Yep, right there. Right here is a theropod track. The Arcanthosaurus or whatever it is. And there's another one. Oh, there's a good one right there. Right there. So it wasn't a complete bust. Awesome. I don't have to sit there and disappoint you guys with nothing. So, alright. I'm going back across the river. We're going geocaching. Okay, so we're back up at the park store. And there's a couple geocaches up here pretty close. We're going to go check it out. So, that's the park store. And then, so, well, can't really see it. Got the map pulled up on my phone. This is called the Monarch Trail. And apparently it kind of connects to all of this. Like there's a day use area right over here. And just real pretty green. A lot of colorful flowers. Apparently they have a lot of monarch butterflies around here at some point. Shows we're roughly 420 feet from this catch. Let's see what this says. Millions of monarchs come here every year. Okay. Alright, so I am certainly glad we got to see some of the dinosaur tracks. After I logged off the video, I found, I got the camera out and took some really good pictures of the tracks. So those will be in the video, and some screen caps. Apparently this area here, from what I can understand, let's go check it out, is a monitoring project for monarch butterfly larvae. I believe they're pretty. The monarch butterflies are getting pretty endangered, maybe. I'm not real sure. I know that they're not as many around as there used to be. But yeah, so they're monitoring that. It's off limits. But let's look at this. Got some Indian paintbrushes there. Alright, so back onto the geocache. Alright, so I want to talk about this vest. As silly as it looks, it's actually handy. I was able to put my camera and my stick in the pockets of it. But I wanted something that if I went on like a day hike or just a short hike, I could put everything on my person and not have to worry about carrying a backpack or some kind of hiking pack. And so my sister got me this vest for Christmas. It has all kinds of pockets and everything else, and it's mostly mesh, so it's not hot. I definitely am liking it. This is the first time I've got to use it, and like I say, on top of that, it almost gives me the look of someone going to Jurassic Park. But all right, we're now 237 feet from this geocache, and there's a second one that's not too far off, so we'll hit up both of those. I think there were actually 2 more across the river back in there, but I did not really. We'll save those for a future trip when I'm actually a little bit more prepared to go over the river better. Oh, look at this. There is a picture of what a monarch butterfly caterpillar looks like. So, all right, we're almost there. Around this little bend up here, and we'll see it. But it's really turned out to be a great trip today, even though there was kind of iffy there this morning, and they've actually said there might be a possible slight chance of rain at noon, but we're just going to bear with it. It did actually sprinkle a little bit about 11 or 10, I don't know, it was closer to like 10:30 for about, I don't know, 10 minutes, and then it completely quit. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna go right through here to this thing. Yep. Freaking bull nettle again. Yep, we're gonna go way around that sucker. All right, we're within 100 feet of this thing, and let's see here. Almost there, 60 feet. Hopefully, no poison ivy. Okay, now we're close. 40 feet. I haven't found it yet, so quit telling me it's here. Probably in, let's see here. Let's see here, it's probably in one of these trees. Probably in this tree. If I had to guess, it was right here in this tree somewhere. Or maybe even that one. Shows I passed it. So, let's see what it is. It doesn't say what it is. Juniper cradle. So it's probably in the fork of one of these cedar trees. Let me see over here. That looks interesting. Ah, I found it. Pretty interesting. Now I'm not going to show exactly where it's at so that people find it easily, but here we go. Look at this. All right, so let's see what's in it. So we got all kinds of little knickknacks. There's like the log, which I'm not going to sign it because I don't have a pen or a pencil. You get the drift. Found it. And whoever hid that one did a good job. I'm almost to the second geocache. It's about 327 feet from here. And this is kind of neat. So look at this. All this tall grass. Yeah, it's even more like that stupid scene in The Lost World with all the velociraptors. Just beautiful. So the area that we were just in, where that first geocache was, apparently it's called the Haunted Woods of Dinosaur Valley. And the reason they call it that is because they do like some Halloween events in there, but it didn't seem very haunted to me. It just seemed nice and quiet and cool and shady, but still pretty. All right, we're getting there in 250 feet. It's gonna be right there in this, right there in those stand of trees. But have a nice little bike path here they wore out for us so we can get to it. Not have to travel through the tall grass and get eaten by deranged dinosaurs. Alright, so I can definitely say they love their bull nettles in this park. I mean, they're everywhere. Alright, 177 feet. Yeah, this is just, I've said it before, and you're probably getting tired of it. This is just a beautiful park. It literally is out of time. You know, like being, how do they say it? Stepping back in time, maybe, I guess would be what I'm getting at. But I don't really see an entrance into these trees. There's gotta be, because that is thick and full of what I guarantee somewhere over here is a entrance into this set of woods. Oh, looky here. There's a playground for the kiddos. Look at that. All kinds of fun stuff. And an entrance into the trees. Except for the poison ivy. Anyway. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at this. This is awesome. Yeah. Alright, so step over this. We're not going to step over it. We're just going to walk over here. Look at this. Oh, wow. That one's not very hidden. But we found it. Alright. It's an ammo can. I'm not going to show y'all what's in it, because it's the same kind of stuff that was in the last one. But I'm probably going to sign off here for a little while. I'm going to finish this up. That will end all like the geocaching and kind of ready to go back to the campsite, check on everything, make sure everything's still good to go, and fix some lunch. And so I will see you folks a little later. Update. This weather is crazy. Anybody who's never been to Texas should just really, you have no idea with the weather. 1 minute they show rain, the next minute it's gone, the next minute there's more, the next minute it's gone. Now it's windier and snot. I'm trying to cook lunch, and yeah, it's just one of those days. But we're gonna press forward. Check this out. All right, so had some brisket that a good friend of mine made and gave me. And so I'm going to heat this up here on the cast iron over some charcoal, and going to put some eggs in it, season it up a little bit, having me another one of those Texas special beers. I'll tell you what, if you come across those Texas special beers, they're great. I'm telling you, it's smooth, and then they have a light version if you're inclined. But otherwise, I highly recommend it. The sun is coming out sporadic. Like right now, it's kind of peeking out, but then going right back behind the clouds. So yeah, fun times. Well, hello, I'm back. So as you can see, it's finally a little later here. Sun's kind of gone down a little bit. It's about to get dark here pretty soon. Um, got the fire going. I was not sure how that was going to go because it was pretty windy earlier. um, so I figure we'll do a couple stories here. And before I get to those, I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about a couple things. So I think I mentioned during our my camp out to Lake Brownwood back in November, I was doing this thing called the Conquer Challenge. So since then, I've finished that challenge and I've done a second challenge, which was called the Anchor Watt Challenge. That one, I knocked that sucker out in like 2 weeks. And so then I moved on to a Lord of the Rings theme challenge, which is 145 miles. And I'm just over halfway through that, which today, there's a big old chunk of walking that'll go to that today. So, got that going on. And something else I wanted to kind of bring up. I've been reading a book today, and the book is called How to Survive Camping. And it's based off of a series of posts on a subreddit called No Sleep. And if you're familiar with that subreddit, you've probably heard of this title. If not, let me explain about No Sleep. So it's one of those things where people who submit stories to No Sleep, they're of course horror stories, and they're told in the way of that they're real. So I've actually published several stories on No Sleep, and this series is probably one of their most famous. And it's about a lady who runs a campground, and there's all this crazy, creepy stuff that happens at this campground. And there's these monsters that live there, but it's told in almost a comedic fashion. So anyway, she eventually took all of her posts and published them in a book series. The original publication is out of print, but she's about to republish, I think in August, all 4 volumes. And so I highly recommend them. If you can't wait till August, go on the subreddit No Sleep and look it up. Just look up Goat Valley Campgrounds on Reddit and you'll find them. So anyway, as far as the story goes tonight, I really couldn't find a good story about Glen Rose. And so I thought I might just go back to what I did in my previous video with the Stealth Camping Alliance. And that's share a couple more stories out of the Scary Stories to Tell from the Dark books. And so the first one I want to tell is called, actually, give me a second here. Let me put this down. All right, so the first one is called High Beams. And so it starts off, and there's this young lady who and I'm not going to tell the story for verbatim. I'm just going to kind of give my own version of it. So anyway, this girl, she's out one night, and she had been at her school at a dance. And she got done and decided to go home, and she got in her car and left. And so she's driving down the highway, and she notices another vehicle behind her. Well, at first she doesn't think much of it. It's just another motorist, nothing strange or anything. Then all of a sudden, that car puts their high beams on. Well, initially she's just kind of annoyed. What are they doing? They're kind of blinding me. Then they turn them off. Well, a few minutes later, they turn them back on. And then they turn them off. And so this happens a few more times. And by this time, the girl's getting scared. And she's like, freaking out. Like, what do these people want? Why are they following me? Why are they chasing me? Why are they turning their lights on? Because she can tell that this is not just somebody, just messing with her. And so this continues, and she lived out in the country. And so she starts to think, well, maybe when I get to my road and I turn off, maybe they will keep going. Well, nope. They keep following her. And so finally, she pulls up in front of her house. And she gets out of the car and runs to the front door and starts yelling for her dad to come out. Well, he comes out and she tells him that. And as he comes out on the porch with her, well, here comes the car pulling in behind them. And he takes the girl and he grabs his shotgun and he goes out there and he's like about to confront the person. And the guy tells her, said, no, I'm trying to help. And so, what do you mean you're trying to help? He's like, well, there's someone in the back seat of your daughter's car. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, look for yourself. He's still in there. And so they go look, and sure enough, there's a man in the back seat of the car. And what had happened was the man had seen the guy getting into the girl's car just before she got into it. And so he waited until she left and followed her. And every time he turned his high beams on, it was when the intruder was about to attack the girl. And so, long story short, he saved her. But turns out the man in the back seat was like some kind of escaped lunatic or something or other. Anyway, that's the first story. The second story is one that's a little bit longer. And so it's called the Wendigo. And I'm sure some of you have heard of the Wendigo. It's like a creature of Native American folklore. There's several different descriptions of it. Some of them deal with like cannibalism. Some of them deal with like, this creature that's kind of looks like a skeletal looking thing with like a deer skull for a head and antlers. And anyway, that's a story for another time. But this story takes place in Canada back a long time ago. And there was this man who went up into like the north part of Canada wanting to hunt. And so he goes to this little village and he's asking around, for anybody that would be interested in going hunting and taking him as a guide. And initially, everybody declines. There's no one. And finally, this man, who is like a Native American, or Native Canadian, I guess you would call him, whose name was DeFago, said he would take the man. And so DeFago, I guess, was like having some really tough times. He really needed the money, and so that's why he agreed. And so DeFago and the man leave to go to the wilderness. Well, that night they're in their tent, and I mean, this is deep in the winter,
snow everywhere. It's snowing that night, and as the night goes on, they're in their tent, the wind picks up, and the guy swears after a while it sounds like the wind is saying Defago, Defago. And after a few times hearing this, he steps outside, and the wind is just howling, and sure enough, it still sounds like it's saying the other man's name. And so he goes in, and he sees Defago in the corner of the tent, just sort of, curled up with his head down low. And he's like, "Are you okay? What's going on here?" And the guy just gets up without saying anything. And he runs out of the tent. Defago does. And so the man follows after him, and he's following his tracks. And up ahead, he can hear what sounds like Defago screaming, "My feet, my fiery feet, my feet are burning." And as he's tracking Defago, he notices that the footprints in the snow keep getting farther apart, like almost as if something was helping to carry Defago along. And so they were camped out kind of on the banks of this frozen lake. And so he followed the tracks out into the middle of the lake, and he expected to find, maybe Defago had fallen through the ice, but he wasn't. There was no sign of him. The tracks just stopped abruptly. And so the man he finally gets back civilization, and like a year later, he returns to that village, and he is talking to some of the locals there, the natives, and he's asking them, "Did any of you people ever see Defago? Did he ever come back?" And he finally gets this old man, and the old man said, "The Wendigo got him." "What do you mean, the Wendigo?" And he said, "The Wendigo, it speaks through the wind, and then it lures people out, and then it does whatever it wants with them, and takes them high in the air, and then just drops them." And the man was kind of just sitting there thinking about that, when he notices a man walk into this bar or this whatever, and there's something familiar with this man. And he sits down, and he's like, "I think that's Defago himself." And so he goes over there, and he's talking to the man. The man doesn't say anything. The man doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there. And he keeps asking him, "Are you Defago? Are you Defago?" And the man won't answer him. Well, finally, he decides to take the man's hat off. And when he does, there's nothing but a pile of ashes. So I think I balked on. I think I messed that story up just a tad bit, but you kind of get the idea. I've actually heard that same story, but with a few more different details, told on a podcast I listen to. But see, those two. I think I could probably think of another one here. Okay, so this one's called Cold as Clay. And so there was this farm, and the farmer's daughter was this beautiful young lady, and her name was Jill. Well, working there on the farm was this man named Jimmy. Well, Jimmy fell in love with Jill, and she fell in love with him. And Jill's father decided he didn't think Jimmy was good enough. And so he sent Jill to live on the other side of the county with her uncle. And so, in the meantime, Jimmy, who was so in love with Jill, he became extremely brokenhearted over her leaving and eventually just died of a broken heart. Well, knowing that his daughter would be equally brokenhearted, the farmer decided not to tell his daughter about Jimmy's passing. And so a little bit of time went on, and one day there was a knock at the door of Jill's uncle's house. And when she opened the door, well, it was Jimmy. And he says, "I've come to take you home. Your father sent me to come get you." And she's like, "Well, okay." And so she starts packing her stuff, and they get on the horse, because this is like way before cars and stuff. This was a long time ago. And so they get on the horse, and Jimmy, he starts taking her back to her father's house. Well, it's like hours. This is like a trip is like hours long. And while they're riding, Jimmy keeps talking about how his head hurts. And, he's just really, and so she touches his forehead, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, Jimmy, you're as cold as clay." And so she takes off her scarf and wraps it around his head to try to warm him up, because thinking maybe that's why his head is hurting him, because of the cold. So anyway, they finally make it back to her father's house, and she gets off the horse, goes up to the house, knocks on the door, and her father comes out, and he's like, "Well, wait a second, what are you doing here? How'd you get here?" She says, "Well, Jimmy came and got me." And he's like, "That's impossible. Jimmy's dead. Jimmy died." And she's like, "But he brought me here, I swear. He's in the barn putting the horse up." And so they go out to the barn, and sure enough, there's the horse standing there, and it's, sweaty, like it had been ridden real hard and for a long time. And it's also shaking with what looks like fear. And so the farmer decides to reach out to Jimmy's parents and tells them, and so they have Jimmy's grave opened. And when they open it up, his corpse is laying there, and around his forehead was Jill's scarf. So, those are the ones I thought might be kind of neat for tonight. Like I say, got the fire going to enjoy it for a while. I've got a lot of wood to burn. I'm gonna have a nice fire, because tonight's the last night here. Gonna be headed back tomorrow to home and back to the old grindstone. In the meantime, I will look to be planning some more trips in the future. Maybe do another Stealth Camping Alliance challenge. In fact, actually, that makes me think of something. So, a couple months ago, I did the March challenge, but I missed April and May. Well, the April challenge was the haiku challenge. And the theme was to stealth camp somewhere and write a haiku to and sort of integrate that into the camping trip. Well, I wasn't able to do that, but thinking that I would get to, I wrote a haiku. And so here it goes. Camping, oh the rush. Fire crackling, story spooky. What's that sound? Bigfoot. Anyway, cheesy. Really cheesy. But it is what it is. Well, all right, folks. I think it's time for me to sign off for tonight. I'm going to sit here and enjoy this fire. I'm going to drink me a couple Dos Equis and read my book some more. And then I will probably talk to you folks tomorrow when I get ready to leave the park. I'm probably going to get up and pack up, fairly quick and then head out. And so until next time, or rather until in the morning when I leave, I will see you guys in the future. Good night. All right, I just had to get one more clip in of this fire. I just want to say this is what it's all about, guys. Just getting away from all the distractions, coming out in God's creation and just enjoying it for what it is. There is so much that can be just swept away by just sitting around a good fire. That's all I gotta say. It's just great. So, thanks for hanging in here with me. This is gonna be a long one, I can already guarantee. But that's okay. Watch it in chunks, or watch the whole thing. All right, well, good morning, guys. So, last night was a pretty good night. Had a good long fire. Sat up to almost midnight at the fire, and then grabbed a shower, and then got in the tent and went to bed. And then got up this morning. Everything's already packed, ready to go home. As always, the tent is just in a wad in the back. That's one of those things that I never can get it back in the bag, especially this one by myself. So I'll be enlisting some help probably to try to put this thing back in the bag. I've had this tent for 3 years. It's a Coleman Sky Dome 8-person tent, and it has the dark room technology, which is nice during the summer because it's nice and dark in there. I don't know if it really helps keep it cooler, but it's a neat tent. Unfortunately, because of the high winds, my fly, where the guy line's attached to my fly, has some of that's kind of messed up. So I like the tent, and it'll last for a little while longer. It'll be good for an occasional camp out, but I think I'm going to try to find me a better quality tent that's this size, because this was cool. It was like having my own little cabin out here. Anyway, I'm headed home. I will probably, I don't know when I'll see you guys again. Hopefully not too soon. I'll probably do like maybe a weekender or something like that. I've been thinking about doing a little quick weekend overnighter at a local park there close to home. I mean, really, I could even go there and do a 2-nighter, and we'll see. But it shouldn't be too long before you see me again. So, as always, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, go to my store, grab a t-shirt, I got t-shirts, I've got hats, I've got stickers. I think I even have a tumbler. There's something there for you. So if you want to, grab something. Otherwise, keep watching, and see you next time.